Usually, when we talk about a protective health measure, there is this, I don't know, this underlying expectation of precision. It feels like engineering.
Right, yeah, it feels very calculated.
Exactly, like you put on a hard hat and your head is protected from falling bricks,
So,
or you wear a seatbelt and you stay in the car during a crash.
yeah, it's a very comforting, uh, linear way to look at the world. You naturally assume that stacking protections will inherently, multiply your safety.
Right, you add a layer of armor, you get a layer of safety, it's entirely additive,
Right.
but then you step into the world of human biology and suddenly that linear logic just shatters.
It completely falls apart.
It really does. So, welcome to the deep dive. Because today we are looking at a landscape where sometimes adding what feels like an extra layer of protection actually makes you significantly less safe.
And we have a literal mountain of evidence for this one today.
Oh, yeah. We are pulling from FDA mandates, World Health Organization guidelines, and some really fascinating clinical data from the UK's Faculty of Sexual and Reproductive Health Care. And the mission today is to uncover how a product designed to keep us secure was actually doing the exact opposite. We're talking about the rise and fall of latex condoms coated with spermicide.
It is such a remarkable story, honestly. It shows how medical consensus is forced to evolve when theoretical science, crashes into clinical reality.
Yeah.
Because this is a product that millions of people used and trusted for decades.
Okay, let's unpack this, because to understand why a spermicide coating ever seemed like a good idea in the first place, we have to rewind a bit. We have to look at the gap between perfect use and typical use.
Right, the human element.
Exactly. The clinical guidelines show that when external latex condoms are used perfectly, meaning like correctly on every single occasion without fail, the failure rate is only about 2%.
Which is an incredibly effective physical barrier. 2% is great.
It's amazing. But the issue is human beings are not clinical robots.
Not at all. We fumble in the dark, we rush, sometimes we apply things incorrectly, or, we use products that have been stored in a hot glove box for a year.
Right. And when you factor in that human error, that failure rate jumps to around 18%.
Yep, 18%.
And 18% is a massive gap when you're talking about unintended pregnancies or disease transmission. So I can totally see the logic of the manufacturers in the 80s and 90s.
Oh, sure.
Like, if the physical barrier of the latex sometimes fails, you'd want a chemical safety net waiting right there to catch the fall.
It's the classic belt and suspenders approach. If the belt snaps, the suspenders hold your pants up.
Right, exactly.
And the active ingredient they chose for that chemical safety net is a compound called noxinol 9, or N9 for short.
N9.
Yeah, it became the absolute gold standard for spermicides.
Yeah.
But to understand the eventual fallout of all this, you really have to understand the microscopic mechanism of N9.
Okay.
Because it doesn't act like a tiny brick wall blocking sperm. It's not a physical blockade.
See, I always pictured it as some sort of thick chemical blockade, like a wall. What does it actually do?
So noxinol 9 is a surfactant. If you think about the lipid bilayer, which is the fatty outer membrane of a cell, a surfactant is designed to violently lower the surface tension of that fat.
Oh, wow. Violently.
Yeah. Imagine a greasy frying pan. If you just run water over it, the water beads up and rolls off, right? Because lipids repel water.
Right. Oil and water don't mix.
Exactly. But the second you add a drop of harsh dish detergent, the grease instantly breaks apart.
Oh, I see.
And 9 does that exact same thing, but to the lipid membrane of a sperm cell. It rips the fatty molecules apart, which physically ruptures and kills the cell on contact.
So it's essentially like a microscopic dish soap just popping sperm cells like grease bubbles.
That is the exact mechanism. And I mean, in a laboratory setting, like in a petri dish, it looks like a miracle.
I bet.
You have the latex barrier, and then you have this powerful chemical detergent instantly neutralizing any sperm that might happen to bypass the latex.
So you buy a box of condoms, the label says spermicidally lubricated, and you naturally assume, hey, I'm buying premium protection.
Right. It makes total sense on paper.
But reading through these clinical overviews, there is a massive catch.
A huge one.
Because when they studied this in the real world, outside of the pristine environment of a petri dish, the data showed absolutely no evidence that condoms with added spermicide provide any additional protection.
Nothing.
Like no added protection against pregnancy or sexually transmitted infections compared to just standard non-spermicidal condoms.
Yeah, 0 statistically significant benefit.
Wait, zero?
Zero.
How is that even possible? I mean, if this chemical obliterates sperm on contact in a lab, it has to catch at least a few stragglers in human biology,
I
right?
don't think so.
How does a chemical go from 100% lethal in a petri dish to statistically useless in the real world?
Well, it really comes down to the chaotic environment of human biology.
Okay.
In a petri dish, you have a controlled volume of sperm meeting a highly concentrated volume of N9. But in vivo, during intercourse, the volume of natural biological fluids massively dilutes the chemical.
All right.
Plus, the physical friction of the act itself just disperses the spermicide away from where it's needed most.
So it's getting pushed around and watered down.
Exactly. So by the time a condom might actually fail or slip, the chemical barrier is often too diluted or displaced to neutralize the massive, instantaneous volume of sperm that gets introduced.
So the mechanics of the human body essentially just outmaneuver the chemical before it can even do its job.
Yes, completely. The sheer volume and velocity involved in human reproduction completely overwhelm the limited amount of surfactant that's coated on the outside of a thin piece of latex.
My first thought as a consumer would be, well, fine, it doesn't add extra protection, but it's just lube.
Right.
It's a bit of marketing fluff. If it doesn't help, it probably doesn't hurt.
Yeah, that was the general consensus for a long time.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Because from reading through the FDA and WHO documents, that assumption is dangerously incorrect.
Yes. The turning point in this whole product's history hinges on that exact assumption. We have to go back to the fundamental nature of N9. Like we said, it is a surfactant. It ruptures lipid membranes.
A dish soap.
The dish soap. The glaring issue here is that N9 is entirely indiscriminate.
Oh.
It doesn't possess some sort of advanced biological targeting system that restricts it to only attacking sperm cells.
Oh, wow. Wait, so if it attacks any lipid membrane it touches, what is it doing to human tissue?
It attacks it with the exact same ferocity.
Yikes.
Yeah. During intercourse, the N9 is pressed directly against the delicate mucosal tissue lining the vagina and the rectum. And the clinical data reveal that frequent exposure to N9, which the FDA defines as using it more than once a day, actively degrades that epithelial lining.
So the dish soap is literally stripping away the body's natural internal skin.
Exactly. In both human and animal models, researchers observed severe epithelial disruption.
That sounds awful.
It is. The surfactant causes microscopic abrasions, lesions, and localized inflammation.
Wow.
Now, sometimes this tissue damage causes noticeable symptoms, like burning or itching, which, might prompt someone to stop using it.
Right, your body telling you something is wrong.
But very often, these micro tears occur without the user feeling any symptoms at all.
And if you are inadvertently creating microscopic tears in your mucosal lining, you are essentially dismantling the body's primary physical defense mechanism.
You're leaving the gates wide open.
And just to be clear on the science here, for you listening, the FDA and WHO guidelines spell out that this isn't about behavior or lifestyle or anything like that. We are strictly talking about the physiological barrier being compromised.
But it's pure biology.
The biology dictates that if you repeatedly break the skin, pathogens have a direct gateway to get inside.
That's the physiological reality. Frequent use of N9 is strongly associated with an increased risk of acquiring sexually transmitted infections.
Right.
And most alarmingly, the World Health Organization and the FDA explicitly warn that N9 can actually increase the risk of HIV acquisition and transmission, especially for populations already at high risk.
That is a staggering paradox. I mean, the product people were buying specifically to stay safe during a global HIV epidemic was physiologically creating the exact vulnerability the virus needed to infect them.
It's an incredibly dark irony.
It really is.
A profound failure of theoretical assumptions. And, the collateral damage of N9 doesn't stop at just the mucosal lining.
Of course not.
If this chemical indiscriminately nukes cells, we also have to look at what it does to the natural biological ecosystem.
You mean the vaginal microbiome?
Exactly.
Yeah, we read a detailed consensus statement on this, and it is a highly complex environment down there. A healthy vagina relies on a very specific bacterial balance to protect itself, right?
Yes. It relies heavily on a type of healthy bacteria called lactobacilli.
Lactobacilli, okay.
And these bacteria produce lactic acid, which keeps the vaginal pH relatively low, usually below a pH of 5.
Okay, so it's acidic.
Yes. And this naturally acidic environment is crucial because it suppresses the growth of harmful bacteria and yeast.
Right. So when you introduce a harsh surfactant like this N9 dish soap into that environment, you aren't just attacking human tissue, you're basically carpet bombing the good bacteria.
You completely obliterate the lactobacilli.
Wow.
And without those good bacteria maintaining the acidic pH, commensal organisms, which are, bacteria and yeast that are normally present in small, harmless amounts, can suddenly multiply out of control.
Because their predators are gone.
Exactly. And this disruption frequently leads to severe yeast infections, commonly known as thrush, and it significantly increases the risk of urinary tract infections, or UTIs.
Okay, let me just summarize this rap sheet so far.
Please do.
Spermicidal condoms offer zero added protection against pregnancy or STIs.
Right.
They cause micro tears that increase the risk of contracting HIV.
Yes.
They cause allergic reactions. And they wipe out the microbiome, triggering yeast infections and UTIs.
It's a disaster.
It is baffling that this stayed on the market as long as it did.
Well, the cascade of side effects is extensive. But there's one more physical reality that finally pushed the industry to its breaking point.
Oh, there's more.
Oh, yeah. N9 is so aggressive that it also physically attacks the very vehicle it's delivered on.
Wait, the condom itself?
The latex condom itself.
Oh, wow. I actually saw this in the clinical guidance regarding shelf life, right?
Yeah.
Because a standard non-spermicidal latex condom generally has a shelf life of about 5 years from the date of manufacture.
Right. 5 years is standard.
But the spermicidal ones expire much faster?
They do. Because latex is a natural polymer. It relies on specific chemical bonds to maintain its elasticity and its strength.
Okay.
And the surfactant properties of N9 slowly but relentlessly interact with those polymers. So while the condom is just sitting there in its foil wrapper, the chemical is actively breaking down the structural integrity of the latex.
It's like soaking a rubber band in acid and expecting it to just stay stretchy and strong.
That's a perfect analogy.
So you have a product that is degrading its own physical barrier while simultaneously damaging the user's biological barrier.
Yes.
It's a complete structural failure on two fronts.
Which is exactly why the industry finally had a massive reckoning. In the early 2000s, the weight of this clinical evidence just became impossible to ignore.
Right, you can't hide that kind of data forever.
Exactly. And a true watershed moment occurred in 2004 when Durex, which is one of the largest condom manufacturers in the world, completely removed nonoxynol 9 from their entire global range of products.
Wow. And you don't overhaul a global manufacturing process like that unless the liability and the science are absolutely undeniable.
Never. It costs way too much money. But following the science, the regulatory bodies also stepped in.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the FDA underwent a massive review of the data around this time.
They did.
And they eventually mandated strict new warning labels for all over-the-counter vaginal contraceptives and spermicides containing N9.
The warnings were intense.
Yeah, the text of those FDA mandates from the Federal Register is incredibly direct. We're talking about required bold print warnings on the packaging.
Right.
They demanded labels stating explicitly, and I quote, "Sexually transmitted diseases alert. This product does not protect against HIV/AIDS or other STDs and may increase the risk of getting HIV from an infected partner."
Imagine reading that on something you bought for protection. They also mandated warnings stating, "Do not use if you or your sex partner has HIV/AIDS."
Which is a complete regulatory reversal from how these products were championed in the 80s and 90s.
It's a total 180.
It's a necessary reversal, obviously, but it leaves modern consumers in a bit of a practical bind.
How so?
Because, people liked spermicidal condoms not necessarily for the chemical protection, but because they came heavily lubricated right out of the wrapper.
Yes. The lubrication aspect.
Right, and lubrication is a critical component of condom efficacy, isn't it?
Absolutely. It reduces friction, which directly reduces the risk of the condom tearing or breaking during use.
So, since spermicidal lubrication is officially off the table, what happens when people need additional lubrication?
Well, they have to choose the right kind.
Right, because human nature is you're in the moment, you're out of the right lube, and you grab whatever is in the bathroom cabinet.
Which is incredibly dangerous.
So if someone grabs Vaseline or like a heavy body lotion or, the coconut oil they have in the kitchen, what actually happens to the condom?
This is perhaps the most crucial area of consumer education when it comes to barrier methods. The definitive science-based answer is that oil-based products will absolutely destroy a latex condom.
But why, though? What is the chemistry that makes coconut oil a literal death sentence for a condom?
Okay, it comes down to a fundamental rule of chemistry. Like, dissolves like.
Like dissolves like.
Yes. Molecules are categorized by how their electrical charges are distributed. So polar molecules have positive and negative ends, like water.
Okay, polar is water.
Right. And nonpolar molecules have an even charge distribution. Latex is a nonpolar compound. And oils and petroleum products are also nonpolar.
So they naturally want to interact with each other.
Exactly. Think of it like a vinaigrette dressing. If you try to mix water and oil, they separate.
Right, you have to shake it up. And even then it separates again.
Because the polar water wants absolutely nothing to do with the nonpolar oil.
Mm.
But if you mix two different types of oil together, they seamlessly merge into one liquid.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Yeah. When nonpolar coconut oil or Vaseline comes into contact with nonpolar latex, the oil immediately tries to merge with the latex polymers.
It's trying to mix.
Yes, and it breaks the strong chemical bonds of the rubber. Within minutes, or sometimes even seconds, a strong structural wall will lose its elasticity, it becomes gummy, and ultimately dissolves into a weak, gooey puddle.
Oh my God. The oil literally melts the barrier.
It entirely compromises the structural integrity.
Oh.
So the only safe lubricants to use with latex are water-based or silicone-based lubricants.
Because they're polar.
Exactly. Because water and silicone are polar compounds, they do not interact with a nonpolar latex. They provide the necessary slip without merging with or degrading the material.
Polar versus nonpolar. Stick to water or silicone with latex.
Always.
But the clinical guidance from the Faculty of Sexual and Reproductive Health Care pointed out something else really interesting about how we use lube.
Oh, right, the placement.
Yeah, because apparently where you put it matters just as much as what kind it is.
It does. There's a practice sometimes referred to in clinical literature as gel charging.
Gel charging.
Yeah, it's where individuals add a small amount of lubricant to the inside of the condom or directly onto themselves before rolling the condom down.
Usually to increase sensation, I assume.
Often, yes.
But that sounds like a recipe for a slip and slide. I mean, if the inside is frictionless, how does the condom stay on?
Well, it doesn't. The clinical data confirms that adding lubricant to the inside of a condom significantly increases the rate of slippage. The condom is exponentially more likely to slide completely off during intercourse.
Which obviously defeats the entire purpose of wearing one in the first place.
Exactly. However, applying a safe water or silicone-based lubricant to the outside of the condom once it's already properly fitted is highly recommended.
Okay, so lube the outside, not the inside.
Right. Lubrication on the outside reduces the friction that causes clinical breakage, while keeping the inside relatively dry ensures the latex maintains its grip and stays securely in place.
Keep the inside dry for grip, lube the outside for slip, and never bring oil near latex.
That's the golden rule.
It is honestly amazing how much physics and chemistry are happening in a space where people are usually just trying to, not think about physics and chemistry.
Yeah, it is a highly dynamic environment, both physiologically and mechanically. And understanding those underlying mechanics is what empowers you to actually stay safe.
So, what does this all mean? When we zoom out and look at this entire stack of research, we see a fascinating and honestly somewhat terrifying evolution of medical knowledge.
We really do.
We started with the idea that latex condoms are highly effective, but because human error exists, we wanted a chemical backup plan.
And that backup plan, anoxinol 9, made perfect theoretical sense at the time. It pops sperm cells just like dish soap popping grease.
But the reality was a biological Trojan horse.
Yeah.
The very chemical meant to add an extra layer of protection was actually degrading the condom itself, aggressively irritating the delicate mucosal tissues of the body, completely wiping out the healthy vaginal microbiome.
And ultimately creating microscopic pathways that actively increase the risk of acquiring STIs.
It's wild.
It serves as a really potent reminder of why clinical observation must continually challenge theoretical logic.
Yeah.
Knowing the actual mechanisms of the health products you use, like knowing why oil breaks latex or why surfactants damage human tissue, it empowers you to navigate around marketing gimmicks that might actually be detrimental to your well-being.
It's the difference between blindly trusting an extra protection label and actually knowing how to protect yourself.
Exactly.
And that brings us to a final thought for you to chew on today. Nonoxynol 9 stayed on the market as a condom coating for decades.
Decades.
It was trusted by millions, endorsed by health professionals, and marketed as the ultimate safety net, all before the medical community definitively proved it was causing harm by doing exactly what it was designed to do, break down cell membranes.
The logic of more is better totally blinded the industry to the physical realities of the product.
It really makes you wonder, what other daily health, hygiene, or wellness products are we currently using in combination, assuming they are some kind of dynamic duo that might actually be secretly canceling each other out?
Or worse, causing quiet damage.
Right, just because two things seem protective on their own doesn't mean they play nice together. Sometimes, as we've seen today, adding an extra layer of armor is the exact thing that shatters your shield.